Even if you don't think people are looking at your content, they are. Competitors are always looking. People are always looking. Some people on Instagram are just scrolling and learning and not commenting or liking. So don't get discouraged, especially if you start to see something maybe come in from the DM or someone joining your email. It's not, if you know the content is correct for your audience and you can look at your insights to see how it's doing, it is not just about the likes. The likes and the followers don't pay the bills. Like it's really just a vanity metric. Views, likes, followers. I mean, Reels, someone could have that reel on because they're watching a recipe and it plays 100 times so they get the whole recipe. And that's an impression 100 times. Like or the reel was viewed 100 times. So it's more important to really know, is there change in your business? Are people joining your community? Are people appreciating the content?
Well, hey there. Welcome to Media Savvy, the podcast that gives you a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to get noticed by media and become the go-to expert that they keep coming back to. I'll be sitting down with successful writers, producers, and entrepreneurs to learn the tools and tactics they use to build their reputation and in turn boost their business. I'm your host, Bonnie Taub-Dix, and I've been working with top-tier media outlets for more than 30 years, anywhere from traditional print publications to online and social platforms. And I'm sharing my nutrition guidance without gimmicks. But you don't have to be a dietitian for this podcast to speak to you. Through my one-to-one conversations, you'll learn how to build a strategy to get your name in the news and establish yourself as an authority in your field, no matter what the industry. With Media Savvy, I'm on a mission to inspire, motivate, and empower you to have the confidence and tools you need to shine in the spotlight. Are you ready? Let's get media savvy. Hello there. Welcome to Media Savvy. So today my guest is Sue B. Zimmerman. And I don't know if you know who Sue is. I'd be surprised if you don't know. But all I know is that I have a feeling that I haven't met her in person, but if I did meet her in person, I would need a good night's sleep before that to catch up with her. Anyway, Sue B is insightful, energetic. She's an in-demand marketing educator, influencer speaker, and a no BS business coach. Sue B is a popular CreativeLive instructor and has been named by Huffington Post as one of the top 50 must-follow women entrepreneurs, as well as the top 50 media marketing influencers by Top Rank Marketing, and, of course, top female business influencers of 2019 by Fit Small Business. Whether she's taking a global stage or speaking at an industry conference or working one-to-one with her clients, Sue B is driven to help business owners leverage the power of Instagram and to meet and even exceed their business goals. So Sue B and I have been in business for more than 30 years, but mine is certainly not as an Instagram expert, as you could tell by her handle on Instagram, which is the Instagram expert. So she has been an inspiration to me and 161,000 other people. So I'd love to welcome Sue B to the show. Sue B, welcome to Media Savvy.
I'm so thrilled to be here and to reconnect.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So I interviewed you a few months ago for a story for U.S. News that I was doing on social media superstars and self-care. And I learned so many things about your background, including that you studied nutrition and that you were a store owner. So can you tell us a little bit about how and when and really why you started playing around on Instagram?
Sure. So I am a curious marketer / entrepreneur, always have been. I've always learned how to market anything that I was selling. And it was very, very grassroots way back in the day, like tabs at a coffee shop on a printed paper that you would tear off. And at my shop, it was a sandwich board in front of my shop on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, where I live. Some of the time. Right now, I'm in La Jolla, California, where I live 2 months of the year, and I was doing Instagram kind of just because my twin daughters were on it, and they told me not to do it. So I was like, okay, if they're on it, then I should definitely check it out, because the teens typically know what the next social trends or at that time opportunities are. So I got really curious really fast, and the way that my brain is wired, very visual. And I just knew that it was an opportunity for me to market differently than what I was doing at my retail shop. And when I started to use it, so many people were coming in, not only because they liked what I was selling, but because there's this great geotag feature where if you tap it, maps open up and people knew how to get directions to come to my store, which was in a golf resort, not easy to get to. So my traffic picked up, my sales picked up, my interest picked up, and I was just intrigued with how powerful this tool, this free marketing tool was. And so this was over 12 years ago that I started. And then I got even more curious with expanding my ability to reach more people and to teach and help and serve. And so I attended a conference out in California and I learned about online marketing. I knew nothing about online marketing. As you said, I have a degree in nutrition and I never used that degree, but I am definitely hardcore with health and wellness on the daily. And I respect anyone who is what I call a health and wellness warrior. And when I was out there, I learned that you could really sell information online as an educator. And so I like to position myself, even though my handle is the Instagram expert and my CEO/partner Morgan is in that avatar. I have been the leading Instagram educator, which I think is a really important word to lean into because of this kind of some negative connotation around guru and expert. And with educating, showing up, serving, I have become an expert. And I say that because I can pretty much answer every question with confidence without looking at notes or without planning in advance on any kind of interview. And so, yeah, I really have always been a connector. I've always been a champion for women. I've always been interested and have built communities, whether it was in one of my businesses, which was scrapbooking and crafting. And, I was on TV, QVC, teaching, building community. And so I really believe that Instagram is this magical, beautiful place when used correctly, strategically, with intention, with focus, with purpose for what's relevant to who you're trying to talk to and connect with. I always say magic can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is pretty incredible with what you have done with this. And of course, we'll get into it a little bit more, but how you actually reach your audience is, to me, incredible. And I know that you also have a coaching business and that you wear many hats. If people looked at your Instagram, they'd see you wear many hats anyway, literally. But
Yes.
but could you tell us about systems? I know you talk about systems a lot. And if there was any way for you to briefly tell us, like, what is systems? Is systems basically like having a structure, like having a plan?
Well, I want to have full disclosure. I am the creative entrepreneur and I have a lot of ideas and I am really good at the things I just said. Morgan, who is my CEO and business partner, has a degree in systems engineering and systems management and a master's. And so she is the brain behind connecting all of the ideas and turning those into opportunities with the right systems and processes in place. Everything that we do in our business from the top down has structure, has SOPs, has standard operating procedures. And that way, if anyone, any role in my company, any person is on vacation or is sick or needs time off, someone else can do that job because we have systems and processes and standards of how to do the thing that is needed to do. And my superpower is not the software.
Yes, I'm with you on that.
Having it's respecting the systems that are in place and always if anything needs to change or be different, just stepping into that with curiosity and conversation. So yes, we have systems for every single thing, from a training to a webinar to a Instagram post. Everything is with that intention of running a successful business.
Yeah, having a fallback just in case something doesn't go your way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
So
that person that always figures shit out. Like I don't sweat the small stuff. Things are never perfect, and if there's a technical glitch or Instagram's glitching or something isn't going the way that I wanted it to, I just take deep breaths and I'm like, first world problems over here. Like, we're going to get through this. It's fine. Right. And I
okay.
think a lot of it's
Yes.
attitude. I think it's a lot of it is the attitude around it.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you were to ask me, which a lot of people have in the past, Subi, what do you think is trending in social media in 2024? My answer would be authenticity. Because I believe that the more people can connect with you and really hear your Boston accent, see your hat collection, know that you love color, see something in the backdrop that is relatable. There's an emotional connection. And the only way to make an emotional connection is to talk so we can hear you and know that you're the real deal and know that you walk the talk and know that you are the expert or educator that you say you are online. Like
it's exactly, yeah. And what I really wanted to point out is that, you are the most natural, genuine, and authentic person that I have seen on the platform. And I was just so curious, do you practice your pieces? Do you use a teleprompter? Because you seem like it doesn't matter. Like, I know my kids are always asking me if I use the teleprompter, and I don't. I actually, tech-wise, not great at even learning how to use one. So I just go off the cuff. And I think that after you've been in business for 30-something years, you kind of know what you're talking about. But you actually do have a lot of facts to talk about. So do you use a teleprompter or
It's
practice?
a great question. It's a great question. When I go live, no. When I'm doing my Instagram stories, no. When I'm creating an ad, yes, I have a teleprompter. When I'm creating a scripted piece of content that we want really tight, yes, I use a teleprompter. But I add lib and add personality to any script always. It's not literally verbatim the script. We want to be tight we don't want to waste people's time. So if you look at any of our content, whether it's a hack or, something that's going to help you with being more productive, which is again, Morgan's wheelhouse. We do a lot of that kind of content. Then it's scripted. And let me just tell you, 4 or 5 years ago, I did not have a teleprompter. All my YouTube videos, I basically memorized those scripts or taped Post-it notes to my phone. Like, I kid you not. So I've come a long way. And the confidence of knowing that I know my shit and not worrying if I'm saying it perfectly well. Sometimes I mix up words or forget a word or whatever, we're all human, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I do a lot of satellite media tours where you have to do like anywhere between 25 and 40 TV shows within a span of a few hours. So after a while, I even get bored with myself with the way I'm saying things. So I have to try to change it up. The message will wind up being the same. But something that I really wanted to ask you, because also on your platform, The Instagram Expert, you are not shy about showing your face, about showing your surroundings. As you said, it really adds to your authenticity. But what about someone who's starting out on Instagram? If they prefer not to personally show up in their feeds, could you tell us something about like what advice you have to give them, maybe doing voiceovers? And I actually had a question in addition to that related to this, though, is do you ever get imposter syndrome? Do you ever get the jitters before doing a presentation?
Never get the jitters, never have imposter syndrome. I just step into my power. And the first part, for anyone that isn't quite as confident, there are beautiful, amazing filters on Instagram that can soften looks and give you a little extra pep in your step. I don't use a lot of filters. I just often use the swipe filter in Instagram. It's called Paris. But I want to be relatable to our audience, which is midlife and older. And I think that I have to show up again as my true authentic self, whether I'm working out, walking on the beach, going to an event. Like it's all of that. But I am always thinking, because I'm very visual, about being quote unquote on brand without it literal, like it's who I am. And I want that energy to be felt, whether you're listening to me or watching me or meeting me in person. I want that to all feel very cohesive. I don't want you to meet me and say, oh my God, you look 20 years younger in your profile photo. Because some people do that. And I'm like, why?
Exactly. Well, I think that you also do a great job with embracing who you are, where you are. Obviously, you should be very proud of where you are, but I think that that's what a lot of people kind of, shy away from, more showing their curated self as opposed to themselves.
That's like anything else in life, it comes with doing. It comes with flexing a muscle that you're not used to flexing. It's having, and it's having those limited beliefs, those doubts, those family members, relatives rolling their eyes at you like, I can't believe you're doing that. That's like, so like not something that you should be doing at your age or whatever the heck anyone is saying. I don't even pay attention to it. And by the way, my three daughters, they used to roll their eyes at me. They don't anymore. My twins are often asking me for advice now. But when they were teenagers, they were embarrassed. But I don't care.
Yeah, I have 3 kids, 3 boys. And I remember that they used to text me sometimes after I would do a post, and it would be mom in caps with an exclamation point. And I knew, well, maybe I should take that down. But the funny thing that happened with one of my sons is he was taking a class and they showed like influencers and good feeds, and they actually showed mine. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's my mom. And to me, I was like, oh my, what more could I ask for? Validity, finally validity. But I think that you have to go with what your gut is. And the other thing is that you know your audience. You know the people that you're speaking to. And one thing that we always learned in working with media is that you have to speak the language of your audience. So I think that you are doing that and, not maybe appealing to or reaching out to high school students, yet your tips are actually tips that anyone could use. Anyone who has never even started with Instagram before, all they have to do is go to your feed and look at the hacks that you do, and it's helpful to anyone.
Oh, absolutely. And we break things down step by step so that you can get a win from watching one post. And that's where the trust is built. It's like, oh, that was so good. I got to watch another one and another one. And then you're telling the algorithm, I like this account. I am curious. And if you're curious, the link in our bio takes you to a free training. And, in the training, it's all about reels, button by button, to help you master reels without needing to lip sync or dance. And when you ask me like what I would suggest to someone starting out, if you're not comfortable on camera, like I said, there are filters, and there's this whole movement with faceless Instagram accounts, which is not my jam, but it's a thing. And
what is that? What is that?
It means just showing other things but your face on Instagram. And then there's the voiceover that you mentioned, which is also a strategy. But at the end of the day, if people cannot see you, hear you, and connect more intimately with you, I think you're just losing out. And it's going to take longer to build trust and audience and opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. It's so funny. I thought you said facelifts on Instagram.
Faceless.
I said, wait, facelifts on Instagram? I never heard of that.
Well, no, there are people that show, there's doctors that show before and afters, and their plastic surgeons are very successful.
Oh, yes, I've actually seen those things. Yeah, very interesting. I also know that you surround yourself with a team of people who you really seem to care about. You really seem to care about each other. And that's something that is very obvious, even in watching your feed. And I know you pair a lot with your CEO, Morgan Sutton, as you described. And I assume that you also collaborate when it comes to content. So do you write a lot of your own content? Does your team research and say, hey, this is what's hot now? How do you find even what's happening with the algorithm? Like, how do you find your information on Instagram?
So I do have a marketing director, Christy. She's been our director for 3, maybe 4 years now. I lose track of time. And I do everything she tells me to do. She does all the research. She spends all the time doing it. I have my fair share of having my face in my phone a lot when I started out. That is not the lifestyle I want to be living now. And so I'm like, guys, just tell me what you need and I'm there. Podcast interview, awesome. You need me to write something for this thing, awesome. Like I am here to create content, but I don't use my brain power like I used to for that. Now, everything you see in stories is organic and me, and on a live is me as well.
Yeah.
But we're very strategic with our content.
Yeah. And that's, I think, what differentiates one part of the platform with another. And I think that that's why you'll see that a lot of people will get this engagement on stories or so many people viewing them, yet the feed is different or they save certain content for the feed. And I like that. I think that stories allows us to be much more natural. And the other thing that I think is less intimidating about stories is that they go away. So unless you're saving them, you do it, you try it, you put yourself out there, and then they go away in 24 hours.
Yeah, and the way that we coach our students is we don't even want you to focus in the neighborhood stories until you've nailed your batching for your content and are consistently creating relatable, relevant content for your audience, because the only people usually seeing your stories are your followers. So we want to create the proof that you are the go-to doing what you do in your feed, and stories can be a big waste of time and energy and not another necessary thing to do as much as creating the content, which typically takes the longest.
Do you have a photographer who films you, and do you do batch recordings?
I do all my own filming. I have a whole system of when content needs to be created. I'm changing outfits. I'm getting in good lighting. I have a system to take the cover photo. We use Airtable, ClickUp. We have systems of where to put it when it's done so that the video editor can get in there and do that. And, because we also have a YouTube channel, we've got a lot of moving parts and pieces that need to go in the right place.
Yeah. In that respect, it's hard to be the talent, but it's easy to be the talent when there's so much that has to be done to get you out there. A lot of people don't realize it.
Yeah. My team protects my lifestyle and time because they know that that's what I want. As I get older and just lean into what's important, all about building connections and community and taking the things off my plate that I no longer want to be doing, or someone else has more talent to be doing or more skills.
I think that is, interesting when at some point in our lives, we could prioritize what we actually like to do and what we don't want to do anymore. That's why thank you so much for doing this show with me.
Oh, that's my whole life. That is literally like if I'm not enjoying it, I mean, obviously at the beginning I was very scrappy and frugal, but I just can, I'm going to say it. I have that luxury. I really do, to say yes to full body yes to what I love, and say no to the things that just aren't filling my cup.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's something that all of us strive to do. And it's funny because you talk about your kids. When I wanted to start this podcast, one of my kids was like, yeah, go do it. That'll be great. All that stuff. And then the other one was like, really? Why? Like, why do you need to do this at this point? But I think that when there's something that you get excitement out of also, then it doesn't seem really like you're working more. It just seems like it's something else that's bringing you pleasurable experience.
Well, I truly believe, and I've always been an entrepreneur. I've never done a resume or worked for anybody else other than waitressing and TJ Maxx when I was younger. So I am always doing the thing that brings joy. And I believe if you do business right, it's an extension of you and what's important to you and kind of, the thing that you want to be known for. And, you want people, it's kind of like the thing you want people to talk about when you're not there, it's, right. And so I think about that.
Yeah, and it's it's not always easy to keep up, especially when things change so much. Like we know that video is important on Instagram, and there was short form video, quick, easy, get your points out, that's it. And now I heard that long form is coming back. Do you have any thoughts about that? Short form versus long form?
It all depends on the purpose and the goal of the content and what your audience responds to. There's no right or wrong here. The only way to know is to split test and try it and see what performs better. And, we do some long tutorials that take a full minute, and we have some quick reels that are seconds. So it really depends on those second ones. It's often an engagement reel where people are just commenting and getting automation in the DM with ManyChat that we've set up for that. So it really depends on what is the goal of this post and how can it help someone grow and learn and trust more, right?
Can you tell us a little bit about what ManyChat is? Because I know that you use that. I think it's great. What do you think about it?
Yeah, most people don't need to use this. If you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, you don't need the expense. You don't need to learn one more thing. But we are in a situation where we want to work more. We want to save a lot of time, especially because we get so many Instagram direct messages. And it is software automation with a funnel built in, depending on what the trigger was. So we have many different funnels for different purposes. So whether we have somebody that we want to have join a webinar training or download our free training, it's a different word. And it's all my head of software tech builds that out and collaborates with Christy, head of marketing. And it feels like me in that the language of that automation is exactly how I would talk and what emojis I would use. So there's a strong connection to energy and personality of Sue B in that messaging in ManyChat.
I really do hear your voice in that. And the other thing that I would call you like the call to action queen, the CTA queen, is that I think that's an area where lots of us fall short, even if we have great content. And I am putting myself in that category too. It's like, here's great content, but then at the end, it's like, where are you leaving people? Where do they go? What do you tell them to do? And I love that you do things like, click here and you'll use your finger pointing up to click here or right there. Yeah. So in terms of calls to action, do you have some advice about like verbiage for a call to action?
Well, So what I'd like to say first is that it is not someone's job to figure out what you want them to do. It is your job to tell them in a way that is not bossy, salesy, or spammy. So the language that I like to use is, if you want more of this, or if this is resonating for you, I think this link, you can check out Bonnie and listen to her. I never tell people what to do. I lead them to an opportunity to make the decision for themselves. If you like the way I taught you this hack, I think you're going to love this one right here because I teach you this. Why am I going to love this one? Because I teach you how to use the Instagram direct messages to actually nurture relationships and make money. Like there has to be a reason. We always say what's in it for them. And this is not what's in it for you, the content creator. It's what's in it for the person that actually takes the action that you are leading them to. And a lot of people, women specifically, we know because we coach them, aren't comfortable with selling and they don't understand selling. They'd rather give their art away sometimes instead of sell it. And everyone's got to pay their bills and make a living. So I am all business boss over here with strategy.
When you coach someone, when clients come to you, what does that look like? For the people who are listening, I'd love them to know more about what you do. So when you're coaching people, is it online, like in a virtual group? Is it something where they're looking at a course on their own and then they could come to you for questions? How does that look?
So we have two vertical opportunities to work with us. One is our signature program, Ready, Set, Grow, which I believe you're a member of, which is our Instagram program that we've been selling for over 7 years that we update yearly because Instagram makes so many changes. And that has a lot of opportunity to get live support. We have a VIP Facebook group. We have a paid community manager. We go live monthly with updates and talk about the changes and what you need to know and why, and what you don't need to know and why. And all questions get answered, even though it is a self-paced lifetime access program that covers everything from start to, like, you know, from setting up your account to going live on Instagram and understanding all 32 buttons on a live, like literally every nuance, every detail for strategy, for growth. So that's Ready, Set, Grow. Our pro program is a elite, high touch coaching program where we coach our students one-to-one in their Slack channel. We coach them as a community. We go live every Wednesday. In fact, that was the first thing I did today. And we also have office hours where our students can book a weekly office hour to work through anything that they're going through in the program. And this is not just about Instagram. This is about scaling and growing a successful, sustainable business using Instagram as a marketing tool, taking them to your lead magnet, building your email list, getting them to say yes to your offer, whether you want them to go on your webinar or you're selling a course or a program, the marketing, the messaging, the branding, you name it. Everything you see us doing, we pretty much support students in this elite program, which is for up to 100 women.
You know, I think that what you said is like really important, is that it's not really just about Instagram, because I think that a lot of people, you know, they have love-hate relationships with social media. And I think it actually, you know, is kind of negative for some people that are always doing the comparison game. But I think that when you take a course like yours, you actually do become more confident in general. And that might even be on a stage, or that might even be in writing a story, because I know that with working with media, I do sometimes get nervous before, you know, giving a big presentation or having something where I need to try to remember a lot of facts. But I think that because I've had training, I also know how to pivot off of a difficult question, and I know how to make things more concise. You have to be concise on social media. So I think that your training really goes a lot further than just an Instagram platform.
Oh, yeah, because Instagram is just the marketing tool. It's a hobby. It's only a hobby unless you understand how to scale a business.
Yeah.
And the only way to scale a business is to really get people on your email list, you know, in your community.
And speaking of tools, do you use a lot of Instagram analytics? Do you follow a lot of that to see what is more popular or not as popular?
I don't know what you mean by a lot, but we look at our insights and we know which ones are most important. And our goal is to always reach non-followers and have conversations. We do not focus heavily on followers. We do not focus on things that really don't matter. We want to know where the conversations are, where people are clicking and joining our email list. We have UTM links everywhere. So we know we have a UTM link in the DM, in the stories, in the bio. UTM links are links that we can track activity and know where people came in to our email list from. So we look at the data there too.
Okay. I'd like to ask you about hashtags, because some people used to be that hashtags were a powerful tool to help get attention, whatever, but seems like they have fallen out of favor or not really necessary now. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, you're accurate in that. When I first taught Instagram, it was a big deal, and now they really don't matter nearly as much. Now, what I will say is that hashtags hold a conversation or an event or a product together, meaning there's a conversation hub, there's a hashtag hub. So when you use a hashtag or tap into one, you can see the conversation around that hashtag. But in terms of gamifying Instagram, in terms of finding your ideal clients and customers, it's hard. But one of the things I will say is that if you do find a hashtag, I'll say it right now, like La Jolla businesswomen. If I followed that hashtag here, I could find some other women in and around this area that I live for 2 months who are businesswomen, and I could connect with them. So there's strategies on positives of hashtags, but in terms of getting people to see you, follow you, and help you grow your account, it's not nearly what it used to be.
Yeah. And I think that what you're saying is also so true, that if you're looking for something in particular, you don't necessarily want to find a hashtag that has 5 million people following it. You may really want to narrow down so that you could find your own niche and people who have common interests.
I'll give you a really good example. So one of my clients who was in our pro program, Kristen, who is in the health and wellness space, she's a culinary expert, but she also has a hydration program, a food foundation of clean food, clean eating, and then she built in this intermittent fasting, which I'm a huge fan of. And she is also a grandmother, and she just had her second grandchild. And so she started using the hashtag and the SEO for active grandparenting. Her account has gone from 23,000 to over 80,000 in 5 weeks. And she visited me here and we talked about this, and it is such an amazing hashtag for her audience, and the same programs and offerings that she has works for active grandparenting. She is 65 and she looks 55, and everyone's like, how do you do it? Well, how she does it is what she teaches in her paid programs. So that's an example of getting really laser focused with a hashtag or words that matter.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, actually. I'm definitely going to check her out. And, you know, we talked before a little bit about imposter syndrome and people who still follow the followers, as opposed to being focused on the group that is following them, that actually care about what they're saying, always looking for more followers. And I would love to hear you say something to those people who post something that they love and that they think is brilliant, and then they get really disappointed and disheartened when they see that they get 2 likes on there.
Well, it's not, even if you don't think people are looking at your content, they are. Competitors are always looking. People are always looking. Some people on Instagram are just scrolling and learning and not commenting or liking. So don't get discouraged, especially if you start to see something maybe come in from the DM or someone joining your email. It's not, if you know the content is correct for your audience, and you can look at your insights to see how it's doing. It is not just about the likes. The likes and the followers don't pay the bills. Like it's really just a vanity metric. Views, likes, followers. I mean, reels, someone could have that reel on because they're watching a recipe and it plays 100 times so they get the whole recipe. And that's an impression 100 times. Like it, or the reel was viewed 100 times. Like, so it's more important to really know, is there change in your business? Are people joining your community? Are people appreciating the content?
Yeah, it always surprises me when I would go to a conference and people would come up to me and say, oh, I loved your post on XYZ. It's like, okay, well, I didn't see your name in terms of a like, but it's good that you saw it. So I think that what you're saying is so true. Like, you don't really know who's seeing it. It's an effort to like it. But so many more people are seeing it than may have responded to your post in general.
Definitely. Yeah. Yes.
So Instagram is always evolving, as we know, like hashtags in, hashtags out, long video, short video, whatever. But are there any emerging trends that you see coming up, or features that we should be aware of now? Little insight here.
Yeah. So, I mean, the trend, as I said, it really does go back to authenticity and connecting with the audience. And one of the trends that I've noticed is there are posts where people are basically curating community from the content. Like, for example, if you're an entrepreneur in business 0 to 3 years, ask a question. And on the same post, it would say, if you're a business owner over 3 years, answer the question. So now people are asking questions about business, and then people are answering the questions. And now you get to see what people are saying, finding new cool people, joining the conversation, and being like, wait, I've been in business over 3 years. I can answer this. You answer it and 25, 50 people see it. you can get amazing people coming over to you from that. There's so much amazing opportunity in comment threads.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I see that a lot on LinkedIn. I know that I'm always getting, asked on LinkedIn if I would contribute to questions that they're putting out about, how not to get nervous in a presentation and what would you do to market your business, those kind of things. But it's really very valuable when you're reading what other people are writing. And then you even see how your words compared to what other people are writing. I think you could learn a lot from those.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that that's the post, the content post is it's like not directed to anyone other than if you've been in business for under 3 years, ask a question. So now you can ask any question under someone else's post. That helps with the algorithm. And then on the same post, it says, answer a question if you've been in business for over 3 years. So you now categorize yourself under 3 years, over 3 years. Do I have the time to answer any questions? Let me see the questions that they're asking. And you can jump in and be seen is the point.
That's interesting. That is so interesting. I love that. And I think that goes with also how you feel about writing comments on other people's posts, that are insightful. That's something also that's important too. I think so many people focus on their own feeds and what people are saying to them about what they wrote. What about commenting on other people's posts?
I spend more time on other people's content that I can add value to in the comment thread all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like your job, with being a coach and offering what your specialty is, which is obviously the Instagram expert.
Yeah. And I want people to know, when you say, I think my superpower is building community. So yes, I educate in Instagram, but I think building community is my superpower and connections. And that happens through Instagram as a tool. And I make women midlife and older feel more confident and be connected to other like-minded business owners who have the same feelings and doubts and struggles. And so you realize you're not alone. You realize that you're not the only one with these feelings. And with that connection, you feel like these are my people. These are my people. And that's a good feeling, just like any other community that you're part of.
Well, it makes Instagram, social media, much more than that, because then it takes it off of the platform into your real life. Because I think it's not just about, pretty pictures of food, even though I do love pretty pictures of food, but it really takes it away to what is it that you're looking for? Like, why are you doing this to begin with? It's like otherwise it's like watching TV. You're not talking to your TV. Well, this has been so insightful for me, and I'm so lucky that, of course, I have looked at your feed for so long, and I hope that for anyone who's listening, that they'll check out the at the Instagram expert. But I have 2 questions to ask, which I like to ask all my guests. So one is, looking back on your journey in this media landscape, what is one piece of advice you wish you had received before you started? And the other is, could you provide one top tip for our listeners if they want to become more media savvy?
Can you repeat the first one?
Yep. First one is, what is one piece of advice that you wish you had when you first started? And the other is a top tip.
Yeah, the advice I wish I had when I first started was not to look at any of my quote unquote competitors, because that's when you get pulled out of your true authentic self and try to perform like them or do what you think is the right thing based on what you're looking at. So I don't follow any Instagram educators at all. I don't look at anything that they're saying or doing, because I just don't want that to mess with the way that I would show up and serve. And the other one was what would be...
That is so interesting. So here we talk so often about not trying to compete with other people. Yet most people that have issues with the way that they feel about themselves on Instagram is because they're looking at their competitors. So you don't look at other platforms? Really?
I don't look at any other educators that teach Instagram.
Wow. Is
and
it
the
tempting?
Second one was,
Is it tempting?
No. I would rather be outside. working out, walking, meeting people, than spending time doing that. So yeah, I have something at a higher level that I'd rather be doing, or cooking or something. And the second one is, what would be a media tip? What was that?
Yeah. Yes. A top tip.
Well, I mean, there's all different types of media. I think I've been exposed and featured on all. And so I guess my tip would be to say yes to media opportunities, because you never know who's listening and you never know who's going to see it or read it. And even if you don't think their influence or their reach is great, even if you touched 1, 2, or 3 or 5 people, they can amplify your message if it was good and talk about you at a cocktail party or a networking event and say, oh my God, I listened to Sue B on Bonnie's podcast and I learned so much. And if you need to learn Instagram, that's who you should follow. So it's like, say yes and be curious, because you never know what's on the other side of exposing your knowledge and your wisdom and your experiences.
I agree. I have always believed in that. In fact, I'll get reporters that contact me and ask me if I want to respond to a story, or when I give them some quotes about a story, and it's a story that I may not actually believe in or want to do. But I'll always say, hey, could I just contribute to the intro of your story? Like they'll say, give me the top worst foods you could eat at McDonald's. If I don't really want to contribute to a story like that, I talk a little bit more about eating fast food. So, you could just twist it around to meet your needs. And I think that's saying yes to opportunities, because you never know what that brings to. It's like magnetic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm all for new experiences, new people, just living life full on and connecting, because you never know where that yes can go.
Yeah. Oh, love that. That's actually an excellent quote. I like that one. So is there anything else that you would like to tell us? And please let people know where they could find you.
Yeah, so The Instagram Expert is the place to find me. And if you liked listening and this was helpful, I would love to see you comment on our last post and tell me that you heard this. And I'd like to come over and say hi, or you can jump into our DM. And yeah, because it's all about building true, authentic relationships. That's what I'm all about.
That's it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Media Savvy, with a big thanks to Sue B and her whole team for schmoozing with us while we're talking about her media journey. And if you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did, it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to Media Savvy, write a review, and I would love it if you would tell somebody else about our show. And remember, it's not just about getting your name out there. It's about connecting with your audience in meaningful ways. So be sure to tune in next time. And until then, follow @BTD Media on Instagram for insider tips and tricks. And don't be shy. Throw me a message if you have any questions at all. And by the way, you're looking mighty media savvy today. Bonnie saying goodbye for now. See you next time.